Welcome to the Soul Touched by Dogs podcast, the show for dog lovers who see dogs not as toys or tools, but wise souls worth our respect and care. I'm Anke Herman, and I'm your host. I talk to awesome humans, people who do great work for dogs and their people. So come and join us for today's conversation. Hello and welcome, Monique. I'm super excited to have you here.
Thank you, Anke. I'm so honored to be here. Really honored. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Well, I'm really looking forward to it. And the funny thing is, we're actually pretty much in the same time zone, which is very unusual for me.
Yes.
So let people know where in this lovely world you are. And as always, what's your business with dogs?
So I live in the Italian part of Switzerland, but I work with the entire world. And my business, I have a business that's called Animalchemy. And Animalchemy is, let's say, the reply to my soul calling, which basically unites my love for animals, dogs, of course, and my deep fascination with the unseen. So let's say the spiritual journey. And since dogs are master gurus at helping us become better humans, with Animalchemy, I'm bringing together the, let's say, animal medicine with the spiritual forces that support people in their journey of awakening. Yeah, now I specialize in the end of life because when my dogs and cats, can I speak of cats on a dog show?
Yes, you can.
Okay, I said the wrong word on a dog show. Everybody's like, woo. So what I was saying is that when they were ready to transition, I had, like so many of us, the hardest of times. And the overwhelming grief forced me to question, how that deep love could turn into so much pain. And the heartbreak propelled me into studying over a decade in the natural end-of-life process. And I studied with a vet, a shaman, and Tibetan monks. And ultimately, I also became a human death doula because the more I learned, the more I wanted to know. But I have to confess that it was our Great Dane Daya that brought all of these teachings to life during her end-of-life journey. And that is actually how my unique approach got shaped, and it actually redefines how the end of life is lived. And it was so funny because she was on an end-of-life journey, and because she's a Great Dane, it was difficult. We were going like, okay, how do we deal with this? And then the vet came, and the usual things. Let's do euthanasia. But the reason was, let's do euthanasia now because she's a Great Dane and we can't really move her. And so my mum asked, is she in pain? And the vet said, oh, no, she's not in pain. She's just a Great Dane. She's just a big dog. And I don't know if I can come another day, right? And that wasn't really the premise, is to go like, okay, oh yes, okay, let's euthanize now because she may not be able to come another day. But that was so serendipitous because I was there with all of my studies, all of my notes from all of these different things that were all separate, Anke. But then through her end of life journey, I was just having all of these, oh, look at this, oh, look at that, this is what's going to happen. And I would take my notes and I would go to my mom and say, I think this is what should happen next, right? And she would go like, okay. And then I would say, okay, now I think that you should say goodbye now. And I was just saying things like that and grabbing all my notes. And Daya was just doing every step one after the other, so precisely. She was amazing. So yeah, it was lovely. Yeah.
I mean, I've had like, these are my four, and the first two have crossed the bridge, so I've been through it twice. And I'm curious about those steps, especially if you're saying that they're so predictable.
Oh, yeah. So yes and no. Okay. So I actually studied the natural end of life, which is something that vets don't study because vets are great at keeping animals alive. They're amazing at doing that. That's their job. But they haven't studied in school. They haven't studied what happens in the natural end of life process. Now, in the last cycle, what happens is when the body always tries to survive, to be, always tries to come back to life, always, always, always. But then there comes a point where the body realizes it's dying, it's the end. And from that point, there is no return. And that is called the last cycle, the active phase of dying. And in that cycle, now it's the same for all beings. It's the same for humans, it's the same for animals. And that's what Daya helped me to see, right? It was the same for animals, and there are very predictable stages. Now, they're not predictable in the sense of this is going to happen first, this is going to happen second, this is going to happen third. In theory, yes. In practical, nothing is going to be like that. But the reason that it was so in line and linear with Daya was that helped me to remember those things and then get them from all the teachings that I'd studied. And so what happens is there are these phases that are based on the elements, the 5 elements. And for example, the earth phase is when animals or people start walking slower, for example, right? So the end of life doesn't start, it's not like it's not a time and a date. This is what I always teach. It's not a time and a date. We always feel it's a time and a date, but it's not. Because in the same way that our puppies came into this world and they didn't just appear like that, right? They didn't just like, okay, I'm being born, boom, right? It's a time and a date, boom. No, there's like, I call it this intelligence that is within our bodies that creates our beating hearts, that creates a pause, and that creates the whiskers and creates the ears, all of those things that I wouldn't know how to do all of that, right? We don't do that, right? But it's so funny. We let Mother Nature create us, and we know there's a process. We don't open up, a dog that is, before the puppies are ready. We wait until the mother's body delivers the puppies, because we trust Mother Nature will deliver them, and when they're ready, when they are at the right point, right? We don't go like, you know what? It's Thursday. Let me do this because it's, I prefer that they were born. Now with humans, they started to doing that because they're doing the cesareans. And I know a lot of people that say, oh yeah, I want my son to be born on the 1st of April or whatever. And that's, that what's happened. However, going back to Mother Nature, we all have, there's this intelligence that runs within our bodies that is there since we are born to when we die. Yet at the end of life, we don't know what to do, or we go like, oh, I've received a terminal diagnosis, so boom, we give the responsibility over to our vets, which also are going like, well, if I can't keep the animal alive, then I need to kill the animal, right? So that's the only way to do. Yet nature has also another way, right? Which is the same process of being born, but it's the other way around. It's the same door, same doorway, but it's the other way around. Now, usually we learn this even with people. We learn how to take care of the dying in our homes and help them pass, because it's not a medical event. It's a highly spiritual event, right? And so when we know how to do that, and we're able to be calm, and we know all of the things, all of the steps, what's happening, so that we're not scared, we know what they're truly living, then that gives us an ability to be able to support them in the end of life. And that doesn't mean that we never use euthanasia. I've never had to use it again, but that doesn't mean that if you want to use it, you can use it, right? But the great thing of knowing all of these things is that we are.
Totally. I think that's
Because
a massive piece, because when I'm thinking back, actually my biggest worry before before I actually have been through the process, when you kind of sit there imagining what it will be, my biggest concern has always been, how will I know? How will I know? Because the last thing I want to do is kill off a dog who just had a bit of a bad day, but I also almost like at least as much, I want to avoid making a dog hang in there beyond the natural, just because I can't let go.
Yeah.
So it's almost like how do you, funny enough, or interestingly enough, both of them made it actually really clear, like in the
Okay.
end, that wasn't actually a
Yeah.
problem. But it's also that piece of like, you don't want them to suffer, right? And I
Yeah.
don't want them to
Absolutely.
suffer longer than
Yeah.
strictly necessary, just because I would love them to live forever, right? So what are some signs that you find people that are normal that people don't know about and may misunderstand or misjudge?
Absolutely. So all of the signs that we find on the quality of life table that we go to vets and they say, if you tick all the boxes, then the life is no longer worth living. For all of those, there is a natural reason for that to happen, and it's a non-painful reason. So, for example, one of the things a lot of people say, okay, when the eyes are not, when you look at your pet's eyes and you see that they're not there, right? That's a sign. Well, that means that basically is meaning, you see, at the end of life, what happens is the soul keeps getting out of the body and they start to get used to the other side. So they keep going in and out and in and out and in and out. So they spend a lot of time on the other side. And so some of the times, yes, they are not there because they are also visiting the other side, right? But that doesn't mean that because they went to visit where their next home is going to be, that we need to end their lives so that they can go. It's like okay, you know what? Let me just check out how my new place is, so that when they arrive on the other side, it's not. Imagine if you're just like teletransported now, just in a moment, in the Himalayas, as you are right now, and you go like, "Ooh,
They're
what,
freezing.
like what am I doing?" Right? So the end of life process is exactly that. It's getting used. It's for the animal to get, or us to get used to the new environment of where we're going. And what better to be in the loving energies of the person that we love the most, right? If you can hold your dog and be, it's okay, my love, right? Because then when they come back in the body, they might go like, oh my goodness, what's happening? And they might go, whoop, whoa, 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 and then immediately, they're in pain, they're suffering, right? And that's when we take them and again, we run to the vet, right? But again, we need to realize that when a body is dying, like I said, do you remember that last cycle that I was telling you? That's the point of the body knows that there's no return. So it activates the going back home elements, which are contrary to the staying here on this earth elements, which is, pain. Pain helps you to go like, Monique, take that hand off of the fire, right? If the body's dying, why would pain need to happen? No pain, right? So a lot of things that we see a lot of pain when we see them, like yowl cats. I know, sorry, I'm talking about cats again, but that's
But
how
that's all right. That's fine. Nothing
they
against
yowl.
cats.
Yeah, or maybe dogs whine a bit sometimes, and immediately, we go into pain. And yes, 100%. If that happens not in the last cycle, that's 100% like go to the vet yesterday, not now. I am not for holding animals in pain. But then in that last cycle, it's what happens to humans as well. There's a lot of confusions because, like I said, they're over there, they're in complete bliss, they don't have a body, their experience is this unconditional love, and then all of a sudden they go like boom,
Oh
and they're
no, gotta
back
go
in
back
these
there.
bodies that can't move, and they go like, holy cow, really, what's happening, right? Now, I'm not saying there's going to be some discomfort. I'm not saying that. I always say that I have a shoulder that's painful, and I can tell you that there's a lot of discomfort in that. But do I want to end my life short because of my pain? And I can tell you, I'm a whiner. I'm a drama queen. I go like, oh my goodness, this hurts so much. So, and you would have euthanized me a long time ago, right? Yeah. I'm a euthanizable person, absolutely.
Oh,
And when I
that's funny.
meditate that I'm not here, you would euthanize me again. So, but now I'm joking a bit. But what I'm trying to say is that we need to understand what is truly happening at the end of life. When we do, we understand when it's pain, when it's not, when to rush to the vet, and when your pet is actually going to die. Because the other thing is, if in the death thing we look at the body, which is the only thing that needs to break down in order for the soul to leave, right, and become this whole, go back to the wholeness of what they truly are. So we are only focused on the one thing that is breaking down, right? When we're able to be able to see the bigger picture and see what is truly happening to the dog and the experience of the dog, because the dog may be in a position where they're not like running after the ball anymore, and you know, maybe not really breathing badly. That's another sign, by the way. But are they in pain? Are they suffering? No, if you connect with the dog in that moment, they go like, oh my goodness, I've never felt better in my entire life, right? And animals have that ability to, humans as well. You see humans that are bedridden, that are not well, and then they go on these journeys, and when they come back, they go like, oh my goodness, right? So we really need to understand that dying is not just the body. In fact, it's not the body, it's all the rest that is happening. And when we understand what is happening, then we can better know whether to rush to the vet or not, right?
That
Because
makes
the problem
sense.
is, you know, imagine if you're the soul and you're trying to leave the body, right? And you go like, okay, this is and then maybe you get like convulsions is another thing, because there's this magnetic field that holds holds everything together in the body, and sometimes the soul needs a little kick to get out, right? And so sometimes we see these movements that are really scary to watch, but it's the movement of, you know, of the soul, like, you know, like moving, right? And trying to detach, because there's all of the chakras that are dissolving, all of the energy fields that are dissolving. So all of these things are happening invisible to our eyes, and when we know don't know what is happening. So imagine that you're in the body, your soul is ready to leave, right? So you're about to leave, and then in that moment they pick you up and they take you where? To the worst place that you've always hated your entire life, at the vet's office, right? And that can never be a peaceful end of life, right? Because that is the worst place that a dog wants to be, at the vet, right? And so I feel that it's our responsibility to learn about this phase, so that when we can, then we can allow them to be home, because we know, oh, this phase means that they're not feeling pain anymore, right? And so now one relaxes. Oh yes, they move the legs. I know what that means. Oh yes, they're breathing differently. I know that this is what's happening. Oh, now I'm going to prepare. I'm going to tell them that I love them. And you know, all of these moments, Anke, becomes a moment of connection, of deep love. And I say that it's like we create a bridge across forever, because now the love connection, which is the relationship of us and our pets, is built on this love connection. Now it's strengthened, because we are there when they most need us.
For sure, for sure.
It's beautiful.
So it is beautiful. I mean, there's like, I'm going all teary, but there's so much beauty in this.
Yeah.
So I'm curious.
May I just say one important thing that this is really important. Whatever we've done in the past, we didn't know these things. And animals, and you know, that like they're now in a state where everything is perfect, right? And animals don't have that part of the brain that we have, that reasons and that judges, right? They don't have all of that. You know what? You should have took me to the vet earlier. You know what? You're a really bad, all of that is just human BS.
Yeah.
Completely.
No, for sure, for sure.
See,
I'm curious. I'm curious because I remember actually there's an Instagram account where there is there's a I think hospice nurse. That was the word.
Okay.
Right. So she's a hospice nurse, and she talks about what this process looks like in people, right? And she often like does these little reels where she goes, like family members often complain that we don't give them water. And she goes, well, because that's not helpful, right? And so then she explains what, as the body's shutting down and all of these things, right?
Yes.
So for a dog, like how do I know when they enter that last cycle? How
Yeah.
do I not mix it up with like, oh my God, like, yeah, he's got
Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
twitching. It's like, oh my God, he must have like seizures and it must be
Yeah.
painful, versus, oh, so this is part of the last cycle.
Yeah.
Is there some way that a normal, like
Yeah.
uneducated person can recognize that?
Well, uneducated, not in the sense that we need to take, this is the thing, is we need to take, if we want to take that responsibility in the same way that we go for, a puppy school and we buy pee pads for the floors so that they don't ruin our carpets, and we buy special things, that we invest time to go to train the puppies, we invest money, we invest, all of this. It's the same at the end of life. I can tell you a few things that can help you, but there's so much. I have a course which is called Walk Your Pet Home, and that course is actually 82 sessions.
Wow. So there's a lot, right?
It's a
Yeah. So we're
lot,
gonna
right? And I'm
obviously
not,
pop the link below. I'm gonna
yeah,
check that out for
no,
sure.
absolutely. And it's divided in two. So a lot of it is also how to change us, because I'm big on us evolving. And I saw in my own journey how it was my personal transformation that helped me to deal with the end of life in a completely different way, right? I started to see my pets' missions. I started to understand why they came to me. I started to understand the reason that they had a specific illness and not another one. I started to understand why they were not dying immediately. I started understanding why they were dying really quickly. All of these things that make us understand that there is a bigger picture and the journey. So the first part is all about that, right? And then the second part is more of the technical things that that I was speaking to you about the cycles. So what happens and when the last cycle arrives, and I explain all of these things. Now, as I said, it's not a complete science, right? So we have to let our dogs lead the way. So, for example, if I was just helping a pet parent recently with a dog, and she was saying, "Oh, I'm giving the homeopathic medicine, and I'm giving the water because the pet was breathing heavily," which is one of the signs to say that's actually the last sign. When they start breathing differently, they are very close to the end, right? But sometimes that can happen a bit sooner rather than later, because maybe they have what do you call them, lung difficulties, right, or things like that. So and then she was saying that she was giving water, and I said just be careful, because one of the things that happen is the when you give water is the swallowing reflexes stop, and so if you give water you choke them, right? So we need to know all of these things. And so how do you know? You just offer the water.
Yeah.
You offer the medicines, right? Because we want the people that don't want to let go, they keep giving, I don't know, heart medicine until they give euthanasia, right? But it's just like that thing about, okay, when you stop the heart medicine, right, you can allow them to go slowly, but without pain. But if you decide to keep the heart medicine going, and then you're waiting for them to die, now there's two forces that are pushing one against the other, because the medicine is going like, come on, you can do it. Yeah, let me help you do this. And then the body's going like, wait, I don't want to anymore, right? And so that's when we see the pain. A lot of pain comes from when we're not able to let go. That's why I'm bringing in all of this, how we can change, right? There's so many things that can help a dying process. But when we're able to start looking at all of these things, I can tell you, my cats. Sorry, I mentioned cats again. I know, it's just like what? They went in a week from going to complete. But even the Great Dane did like that. They went from, okay, I'm totally fine, to right, bye, I'm going. What do you mean you're going? Right? Yeah, I'm going. And then dun at home, calmly, off they went. No pain, no stress, no nothing, no vets, just calmly at home. But of course, one of the things that we have a lot of problem is our stress, because we see in the emergency, we always see the stress, and this is why these things, it's important to learn them beforehand. right?
Yeah, I think it's
But the good
definitely
thing
one of
about
those
that,
you can't kind of start looking at it when it's already happening, right? It's like,
no,
oh, hang on, wait, let me look up,
yeah,
like what's going
yeah,
on here?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So to reply to your question is, let the dog lead. The dog will know. The dog knows 100% how to die. Not a problem, all right? But then you have to look at yourself. So the first thing is be calm, be present, right? And because the problem is when you start thinking about, is my pet in pain? Is my pet in pain? Where are you? You're not present. So I say, come back to present. What do you do? If you just simple exercise to come back to present, look at your dog, look at your dog's breathing or your paw, just focus on that for a moment and then re-ask the question. And then you will look and you go like, oh, well, it doesn't seem that painful, right? Because usually it's like even a movement is pain in a worried mind, right? So it's that training of coming back to the present moment. And then just let the dog lead. If they don't want to eat, don't panic. The body knows what to do, right? If they don't want to drink, don't force any medicine. Don't force any food. We force things down. But I always remember. I had a vision once. I was trying to give some medicine to. I'm sorry, a cat. God, you're gonna throw me out of the show. I was trying to give it, and you know how it's not easy, right? The dog is a bit easier, right? But with a cat, it's not easy. But I was really good. I was the best. I was like, take the towel, wrap the cat in the towel, open the mouth, yeah, and then keep it closed until they go down in it. So I was thinking about this in that moment because I had to do that. I was like, oh gosh, I need to go through all of that. And in that moment, I was at the table, I closed my eyes, and all of a sudden I saw an image of my mom. And there was this conversation. It was like a little scene I was seeing. And my mom said, I've got a headache. And I said, oh, do you want a pill? Which is something I would have never said. But anyway, that's what I was seeing. I said, do you want a pill? And she goes like, no. And so I took a towel. I wrapped her up in a towel. I threw her on the floor. I opened her mouth. I threw like the pill in. I closed her mouth until she did like that. And then I opened and then I released her. And as I opened the eyes, I was completely shocked, Anki, completely shocked. I was like, what? Why do we do this for animals? Why do we do it? Because we decide that is good and otherwise they're going to die. And I was all about that. I would say, eat this, otherwise you're going to die. As if, yeah, as if staying alive with me doing all of those things was a good life, right? Probably
The
a
animal goes,
torture.
well, actually,
Yeah.
now that you're saying it.
But just to give some perspective on this, when I released those tensions about having to do this and allowing, giving back that freedom to the animal, guess what? The cat started eating the food with the medicine. There was no need for me to do it. And then when the cat stopped, it was because the cat knew that he was dying, right? So yeah, can you see there's so many
It's like it's
aspects?
that, yeah, there's so much to it, and it also feels a big part of it is trusting nature.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah,
know, it's like, yeah, just like nature knows how to bring us into this world, it also knows
yeah,
how, how to take us back. Like
yeah.
it
That makes
takes a
total
lot of
sense,
that
right?
heaviness out of it,
Yeah.
right? So yeah, so where can people get their hands on the course? Where can they get in touch with you, find out more? Because,
Yes.
well, it makes sense to dive into the topic before you need it, right? You don't want to sort of sit
No,
there
absolutely.
having,
I've got many clients that basically are taking the courses when their dogs. I've got two that have 4-year-olds, for example. And apart from the fact that it can happen at any time, and one, bless her heart, that 4-year-old actually had an accident and died. So it was, and somebody said, is taking this course gonna, no, it's not gonna. So don't worry. But what I can say is that this course actually helps everyone in life as well. So yes, it does talk about death, but just bear in mind that it helps you deepen the bond with your animal. It helps you get skills that really help you in any challenge in life as well, right? And as I say, I always say that basically this is our journey of evolution, where our animal companions can be our guides. So with their wet noses, they show us how to go from conditional love to unconditional love, and then in the end of life journey to divine love, right? So yeah, I have touched the most divine places with that, because I'll just say one more thing. You know, when we are always again looking only at the body, which is the thing that is, yeah. But if we are able to see where everything else happens, it's amazing, because the energy the frequencies have to raise to meet the place where they're going. So our animal may look all sad and depressed and bedraggled, but when you look at it from an energetic place, they're huge. And when you're in that energy, you can connect to that. And that's where also you can get a little taste of the divine. And I've had that happen many times. And that's why I can tell you, not because I think or I've read somewhere that when we go beyond the body, we feel bliss, is because I felt it during an end of life of an animal. And I was told, this is how I'm feeling. And I was looking at this bedraggled being and I was going like, this is impossible, right? But I was taken there. So it's beautiful. So book your pet home. You can find all the information on Animalchemy. So it's not Animal Alchemy, it's Animalchemy. I had to put it together, otherwise it would have cost me $10,000, which I didn't want to pay. So, so Animalchemy.
Cooler like that.
Yeah. And for all of your readers, there is a place, and I'm sure that you will give them the link.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yep.
Okay. So there's like free 6 sessions of the 82 session course, right, for free. So you can watch them for free to just get the hang of, you know, what's happening in the course. And then, of course, if people want to sign up for the newsletter and things like that, I basically do events. I do a lot of events. The last one was 3 hours of just free information that I gave out. And then also, if anybody's going through an end of life situation right now, they can sign up for a free consult where I can support them in this, you know, in this end of life moment. And then if they decide, you know, to work with me, okay. If not, that's fine. They get a lot just to, you know, relax a bit into the situation. And if anyone is feeling the soul calling to become pet doulas, please reach out. There is also a free session for that, like a free discovery session, because yes, because the world needs this. You know, I really, it changes so much. You know, I go from clients that call me in despair, and then I receive emails that say, oh, Fluffy has died peacefully last night and it was beautiful. And I go like, beautiful? You know, you can find beauty in this as well, right? Now, does this mean that you won't be sad? Of course not. Absolutely not. I mean, these are our loves, right? It's impossible not to be sad. But when we are open to the bigger picture and feel it and live it and understand the mission and all of those things, then it becomes a journey of growth for us. And once we learn it, then we have it for all of our lives. For ourselves, for our journey home, for all of our dogs, for all our friends' dogs, ever. It is really something important. So I am really I'm on a mission to train as many pet death doulas as possible, because I really find that we don't have to stay with grief forever. You know, grief in the current model, unfortunately, because we have to make that horrible decision of ending the life, right? So we need to know when we need to make that decision. That takes us to a place where we feel a lot of grief, you know. And when we don't live this journey, like I said, with all of these points, the completion, we don't get to a completion. And it's just like, oh, you know, Fluffy was here yesterday and Fluffy's no longer here. And that brings a grief that doesn't go away. Love should stay with us forever. Grief not. It's not natural.
I love your passion about, I love your passion around this, because I mean I've experienced it twice and there was so much beauty in it. Yes, it hurts like hell and it was beautiful. And I'm getting teary, but
Mm.
but for you to really lean into that and to give people a way to be prepared, it's just delightful.
I love it.
Thank you.
I really love it, and as I said, it's funny because sometimes people don't want to be doulas because they go like, it must be the most depressing job ever. And I can tell you it's the most enriching job ever. I wake up with a smile every single day, and not because I'm seeing animals die, but I am seeing, of course, so it's like that would be horrible. If you look at it like that, it's the worst thing. But then when you see them just just relax, but then leave with all of these gifts that make us better humans, and then when people still feel the connection to the other side, when I can see a smile instead of a a sad heart, I mean, how can I not be happy every single morning? So we need these people in the world that can bring this out into the world. And I really believe that every pet deserves a peaceful and conscious end of life. Because, when we do euthanasia, we are not allowing that to happen. The consciousness is asleep. But then also every pet parent deserves to have a way to keep that love connection open.
Yeah.
Right?
And that closure, right? It's that closure.
Absolutely.
It's not that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's funny because it just reminds me of a neighbor that I used to have, and he posted something like years later, that his dog basically got run over by a train in front of him, and I'm like,
Gosh.
Jesus, like I don't even like that would be horrible.
That would be horrible.
So it's like that, and I was then thinking like, God, and I'd feel guilty because I obviously put the dog in that situation, so it's like Jesus, it was my job to keep the dog safe, right, to make sure they can't run across the train track. And I'm thinking, yes, there will definitely situations where it's a lot harder to get over it than than what I had with like Leo, who was like almost 17, and it's like, I know I've given you a good life, and so it's like, and I was there till the end, so it wasn't like, it's almost like it had that sense of closure. So there wasn't like, oh my God, I'm feeling regret or guilt about something, and it was like, no, like we had our journey together, and
absolutely,
and it's come to its close.
This is why this is a different way to look at the end of life, because I'm looking at all of those things, especially the guilt, because I can tell you the guilt comes from, oh, I did euthanasia too soon. Oh, I did it too late. Oh, I didn't do it sooner. Oh, I didn't look at the dog crossing the railways. It doesn't matter. You can just fill in the blanks at the end. Everybody has that guilt. So we need to look at us. We need to heal that inside of us, right? So that we can see the real situation. Maybe that soul needed to go in that moment. What did that soul bring into the life of that man in that moment? Why the two souls connected? Maybe it had a mission. Well, not maybe, it had a mission. It completed that mission, and then it just went. When you know what happens to the soul, and the soul can never be hurt, never is born, never dies, right? Then you know that, yes, it's incredibly horrible to see the body, go through all of that. But now you see all the rest, right? And if you can keep that connection, you know that your dog is not under there anymore, right? Yeah. So, and if you can deal with the shock, if you know how your brain works, you can deal with that as well. So it's all about, at the end, can you see how all of this makes us better humans?
Absolutely.
And when we are better, then we can also give a better life to our dogs, our living dogs and our dying dogs, right? Because us being in panic and thinking that we should have kept the dog from running into the railways.
Well, he went off on a massive rant about against the train driver.
Yeah, of course. And then that's it, and here we do it with the vet. It's either the vet's fault or the love, the partner's fault, or there's always somebody's fault. Even sometimes it's a pet's fault for dying on me, right? But even that is a thing that you need to work on yourself. And this is why there's so many building blocks that make us, live life better as well. Right.
Sure.
So all of these things are really, really, really important. And plus, we never think about the other thing I want to say is, like, when an animal dies, or of course a person as well, but imagine that dog dying, right? He went out of the body. He was obviously no longer in the body under the train, right? So he went out, and now they are very sensitive when they are the other side, even when they're dying. So please, all the listeners need to know that when a pet is dying, they're very sensitive. So they feel us a lot more than they do normally. We already know how our animals feel us, right? Can you imagine how it is to feel us even more, like a million times more? So now imagine that you're dying, and the person that you love the most is like, I need to do this. I need to give the medicine. It's not, my dog is not sleeping. My dog is sleeping too much. My dog is, I'm so worried. I'm so tired. Now be the dog in that moment. Is that peaceful? That is not. So that's why we need to work on ourselves. The dogs know how to cross over. We need to work on ourselves if we want to help them have a peaceful death. A peaceful death doesn't come from something that we give them. It comes from us being peaceful, because when they go out of the body, let's say that now I'm dead, right? And I come and I look at you, and you're crying, and you're like, oh, Monique, where did you go, Monique? Right? And I'm here, and I'm going like, I'm fine. I go, but I'm so connected with you, right? I'm so connected with you, and I feel your pain. I feel your pain, and I'm fine, but I feel your pain. And so I'm staying here. So let me stay here. So I stay here. And so we have all of these souls that are here because we are in grief, and they can't continue their journey. They can't become our guides because they're stuck in these half worlds, right? So we need to know what happens on the other side. We need to know what happens when we are stressed out, so that we can then become responsible and know what to do at the end of life, and not just go like, oh, my pet has cancer, here you go, you vet, deal with it, because the poor vets have to deal with that, of course, right? Yeah. A lot of vets, are very depressed because all they do is euthanasia.
Actually, it's funny. I mean, I saw somebody say that, I don't know, I think it was a vet who said like like some horrific percentage of people won't stay with their dogs.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Like, oh, that's horrible. Yeah. Like I couldn't even picture that. Like, how would you just hand over your dog, for somebody else to deal with those last like moments? It's just.
And that is normal if you think about how society is today. It's like we push away anything that we don't like. That's why I'm not going to buy a course on the end of life, because it's the end of life. I don't want to deal with that, right? I don't want to. So there's a lot of things that we always want to push away, but the growth actually comes from feeling the pain, feeling the fear, and going anyway, right? Yeah. And going like, in the Amazons, they call it touching the jaguar, right? You see the jaguar, and you take one step towards it, and you step one take towards it, right? And each step you learn more about the jaguar until you touch it. When you touch it, the energy of the gift of the jaguar comes into you, and you're now filled with these new strengths to go to take on your journey. It's an initiation into who we can become as an effect of going through this end of life.
Yeah. And actually, it's totally, in my experience, I remember actually always dreading my grandma dying, you know, and it was almost like, looking back, the dread before was actually worse than the actual process of it.
Yeah, sure.
So yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Well, I think we could carry on forever here.
I know. We'll have to maybe do it another time.
I think we do. I totally think we do. So yes, we'll pop the links underneath. So get the course. I'll definitely check it out, because it makes so much sense, and it takes the heaviness out of a process that is so natural, that I think we've sort of pushed away as a society, as if it was this kind of like weird thing we don't want to know about, when it's actually just part of the part that gives closure. So thank you so much for for bringing
Yeah,
all
we
of that.
prepare for everything in life. We
Yeah.
prepare for this interview. I, tidied up the background, did my curls and everything. Yet we don't prepare for the one thing that is certain in life, which
Yeah.
is the end, right? The end of the dying process. So yeah, let's do it.
Awesome.
Let's do
Let's
it.
do it. All righty. Well, then, thank you so much for today.
Thank you so
And
much, Anke.
I
You've
shall
been
talk to
wonderful.
you again soon.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed the episode, don't forget to subscribe and leave a review so other dog lovers can find the show. If you haven't already, head over to soultouchedbydogs.com and sign up for weekly doggy cuteness, tips, recommendations, and personal stories to warm your dog-loving heart. And if you know a awesome human you think I should interview, I'd love an introduction. Email me at Anke, that's ANKE, @soultouchedbydogs.com.